Texting. Good morning, America. Boys and girls. I think a bunch of you are probably at work right now. I actually have the day off. I am on my vacation starting today until next Tuesday anyway. So it's a small vacation, but we're going to be going down to South Carolina to see the moms, my mom, and with the kids later on tonight. But they're in school right now. The wife is working. The redoubtable one is fulfilling his occupational requirements. So I'll be flying solo this morning. Welcome back to IDD for those of you who know in the Mid-Sac. A gorgeous day. We're looking at 87, maybe 88 high today. Summer is knocking on the door. So redoubtable one time is always not here, but flying solo. The highly questionable one, Arjun Miliaccio, segment one, all things Final Four NBA style America. Game one is now in the books for both Eastern and Western conferences. Real quick, because it's fresh in my mind, Dallas goes into Minnesota. 5 days of hype. People crowning the Timberwolves, and Mr. Ant Edwards, who I have utmost respect and admiration. I think he's going to be an all-time great if he stays healthy. But he bit off a little more than he can chew. He flapped his gums. Basically said, "I got Kyrie Irving." Oh, did you ever get Kyrie Irving? I always talk about this. If your name is not Larry Bird, don't go poking the bear, because Larry Bird's the only guy I ever saw do that and lived to tell the tale regularly. Saying you got Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie heard it, and boy did he ever hear it. 30 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. He struck early. Doncic struck late, 33 points. He also tried to guard him and didn't succeed, because a lot of Doncic's 15 fourth-quarter points, get out of here, Mr. Wasp, came right on Anthony Edwards. So the Dallas Mavericks go in and stun. I don't know if I call it stun, but they certainly put the Wolves on notice with a 108-105 win last night at Target Center in Minnesota. The TNT crew was there, and they talked to Kyrie Irving after the game. And Kyrie Irving actually sounded, which he has many times this year, like a mature adult. So you got to give him credit for that. He has this year, we said it earlier in the year, that he has to this point kept his nose clean and been a professional. And the Mavericks have flourished because of it. And they are 3 wins from the NBA Finals, and it is not a fluke. The moves they made at the trade deadline, the guys there, Gabbert and the kid Lively, these jumping jacks, 6'11", 7-foot guys that complement what they do very well. They play defense, and I'll tell you what, this is no joke. This is no fluke. I said Minnesota in 7 by the skin of their teeth. And it's looking every bit like a 7-game series, unless, of course, Dallas does what Minnesota did to Denver and put them on their heels. We're going to find out a little bit about Minnesota now, because Anthony Edwards, who didn't statistically have a bad game, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, but Doncic and Kyrie were the 2 best players on the floor last night, by far. And that's a red flag if you're a Timberwolves fan, because that's no fluke. Those 2 have been doing that all season. So Minnesota. Now, to be fair, Minnesota was coming off a grueling 7-game series with Denver, and Dallas was sitting around for a few more days. But again, Anthony Edwards, I love your confidence, but why? Why give a team extra motivation? I don't get it. Especially a guy like Kyrie Irving, who from a skill set is as good as any little man in this game has been. Okay? So, and he can still play at a high level, as he proved last night. He struck early. Normally he lets Luka set the tone, then he starts to take over or do his thing in the second half. He came out and set the tone last night. 24 first half points. And then at the end, the guy hitting the free throws that iced it was Kyrie Irving, who plays defense now. And Luka plays defense now. Luka, for his 33 points and 8 assists last night, you're going to look at the box score, but if you watch the game, Luka Doncic is playing defense, like legitimate defense, NBA caliber, not I just came over for Europe. No, legitimate NBA playoff basketball defense, and that is something that needs to be taken account of, and he needs to be commended on it, because it's no fluke. He's been doing it. The Mavericks at the trade deadline looked at who was in front of them, and they made the necessary adjustments to compete with them. Kudos to Mark Cuban and again, I don't know who his GM is, but kudos to them for doing that. And the Mavericks are right there now, and this is no fluke, and they are not going to go down without a fight, and it's going to be a fight. So that's the Western Conference for now. Game 2 is tomorrow night, Friday night. switching gears to what the main topic here is, the Boston Celtics. I'm glad I waited a little while. Normally I would have gone on last night, but I wanted to wait because I was hearing a lot of different things. And, usually I'm the first one to bash them. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to be critical, because certainly if you watch that game, there were plenty of things to be critical of. Number one, they had 5 days to get ready for whoever was coming out of the East or out of that semifinal. And for the people that don't know, Boston, they have home court advantage. So whoever survived the Knicks Pacers series was coming up to Boston, fatigued to say the least. Yet, and this is where I get really ticked off. My first thing here was ESPN loving the Pacers. I've been hearing this now for about 36 hours. How the Pacers gave this game away. I don't know how you give a game away where you were leading for less than 10 minutes of it, and it went into overtime. So it was 53 minutes long. The Pacers probably led for less than 10 minutes of it. So how do you look at one 4-minute stretch or 5-minute stretch in the fourth quarter and go, oh, the Pacers should have won that game, when they got outplayed for most of it? And the Celtics are missing Kristaps Porzingis. That is 20 points a game out of their lineup and his rim protection. So they're winning without him, and everybody seems. Here's the problem with ESPN. They should change it to hypocrite television, because honestly, how can you sit there out of one side of your mouth and say the Celtics can't win a championship without Porzingis, and yet then you bash them, okay? And again, if you're going to bash them, there's a way to bash them, and it's just to go with the game itself. The Celtics, they say to a man, need Porzingis back to win a championship. But they also say they don't need him to beat the Pacers, but most of them also say this series is going 6 or 7 games. In fact, of the 16 experts that picked this series, and I sent this to Tommy the other day, 14 of them picked the Celtics. But of those 14, only 2 of them had Boston winning in 5. The other 10, or 12 rather, had it going 6 or 7. Well, it's like, what is it? What is it? Because here's the thing. To me, the Pacers didn't blow that game the other night. The Celtics blew it 3 times. And Tim Legler brings this up. It's always, the Pacers came back 3 times from double-digit deficits. Not the Celtics coughed up 3 double-digit leads. Because that's really what happened. Again, perception, it's all on how you look at it. When the Celtics built those leads, they were going to the basket. I mean, they ended up at the foul line 30 times. We'll get into that one in a minute, all you freaking lazy-ass fans who want to sit there and blame the refs for this. The thing is, the Celtics went to the free throw line 30 times. That's how they kept building these leads. They kept giving them back because they stopped doing it. And every time they get a double-digit lead, they relax. They shoot a couple of threes. We talked about it the other night, shooting your opponent back into the game. The Boston Celtics have coined that phrase. That is their calling card. They do it 3 times, and now it's the resiliency of the Pacers. But then you turn around, and the Celtics always keep taking their foot off their gas. Make up your effing minds. Can 2 things be true? Yeah. But the thing is, the Celtics have been doing this for 3 years at least. At least when Udoka was here, they were the best defensive team in the league. So statistically, and they haven't fallen off that much. They're top 5. They're still elite defensively, but they were by far the best defensive team in the league when Udoka was running things, because that was their staple. This team's staple is the 3-point shot now, which they took 45 the other night. Why? I have no idea. I said on our last show when we predicted this series, and I said Boston in 7. This is why I said Boston in 7. But the problem is, I also said in that series, in that segment the other night, that the Celtics don't need to shoot threes to beat the Pacers. They just need to go to the basket because Indiana can't stop them. And when I mean they can't stop them, I mean they literally, whether you post up Jrue Holiday or whoever, or Tatum and Brown are slashing from the wing, or Derek White, it doesn't matter. Okay, and this is where Mazzula's coaching again must come into question. If the entire world knows this, why doesn't Joe Mazzula? Because, and look, I like Sam Hauser as a player, But I don't think you need Sam Hauser to win this series. At least not. You want to make it easy on yourself? They got a guy on their bench, and I'm looking at the numbers. His name is O'Shea Brissett. He is a 6'7" small forward known for two things, defense and dribble penetration. When you take Tatum or Brown out, why are you not putting him in as opposed to Hauser to go with the other superstar? Because he can do the same thing. He's about the same size. He's quick. He'll go to the rim. He plays defense. Hauser's going to roam around the three-point line, and if he's not shooting threes, he's useless. He's a defensive liability against the Pacers have the number one offense in the league. You cannot be a defensive liability against this team. And Sam Hauser is. He can't guard any of their guys in the perimeter. Could he offset it if he's hitting 3 or 4 three-pointers? Yeah, but he hit 0 last night. And the question is, going into the game, really, if you knew, and here's the thing about that, and I'll get into the refs, the fans, but the Pacers are, statistically speaking, one of the worst defenses in the NBA. We joked about how they don't stop them, they just outscore people. And that's not a joke, it's a fact. Okay? They didn't stop the Celtics. The Celtics' offense at times looked awful, and they scored 133 points. I mean, I keep hearing from Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins, their offense looks awful. They scored 133 points. They scored 117 in regulation. Whatever it was, 112. I mean, what are you talking about? It looks awful, but again, the defense they're playing is awful. And it looks awful because of one reason, shot selection. When they are moving the ball and they're going to the basket and they're kicking out to open threes off of penetration, their offense looks good. When it's hero ball, which Tatum and Brown are both guilty of, and Derek White sometimes does this too, by the way now. It's rubbing off on some people. And yeah, it looks stagnant. It doesn't look right. It's too easy to defend. And they're right when they do that. But when they're moving the ball and they're going to the rim and then they're kicking out and they're getting because of the collapse, then the offense looks really smooth and fluid and good. And I have no problem with those threes because you're drawing a double team and kicking to a wide open, capable shooter. The Celtics have capable shooters. No one's denying that. But again, it's about shot selection. They got those leads going to the rim. They lost those leads because they stopped going to the rim. And you can go back to the tape. I'm not making it up. It seemed to happen every time they got a double lead. And it happened 3 different times in this game. Started out with a 12-0 run, hit the Pacers right in the mouth. And then what did they do? Started floating around the three-point line. As opposed to put them down now. That game should have been over at halftime. Honestly, it should have been over again at the end of the third quarter. Nope. And then all I hear about is the resiliency and the pace that they keep playing with. The Pacers don't play defense. And then they're saying, well, if they when they make a basket, then they lock up on you full court. Well, that's even better in the case of the Boston Celtics because Jaylen Brown, you don't want to get in the face of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They'll go right by you. Go ahead, get in their face 94 feet and see what happens. Derek Holiday, say if they Drew White, go ahead, get Drew Holiday, Derek White. Go ahead, get in their face. Let's see what happens. Go ahead. I bring it on. Bring it on. You're playing. That's exactly what I want you to do. Okay? So the Pacers would not benefit from doing that against the Celtics. Against a depleted New York Knicks team that was missing their leading scorer, who was Randall when he got hurt, and no Ojale for half the series, you can get away with that against them. You're not going to do that, or a depleted Milwaukee team that didn't have Giannis at all and didn't have. Think about this. They didn't have Lillard for 2 or 3 games. 2 games in that series. What are you talking about? You can do that to depleted teams. The Celtics are missing their center, not their wings. And if you want to go full court on the Boston Celtics, it should be a dunk fest. It should be a dunk fest. And at times it was. So, but again, they stopped doing it at 3 different occasions. And Legler points this out. But instead of saying that, because that's what, we're giving the Pacers praise for their resiliency and their toughness. But then they're idiots because they throw the ball away. They didn't throw the ball away. Look at the last 4 turnovers in particular of that game. The 2 that happened in one in regulation where what's his name? The guy not Shepard, whatever his name is, the guard for Indiana is taken out of bounds. Nembhard is taken out of bounds, and Jaylen Brown is all over Pascal Siakam like a cheap fucking suit. And that's a tough pass to throw. And again, the reason they threw it to him is because the other guys were doubled up. Now, if you want to sit there and say that Nembhard didn't call timeout, that's fair. But that's pressure. That's pressure being applied by the opponent. Because on inbounds play, everybody that knows basketball knows the guy who guards the inbounder isn't guarding the inbounder. He's floating in the middle, waiting for the first guy that comes free to take away the first option. That guy was Derek White. Go back to the tape. So then the fourth, fifth option comes in trying to, instead of he throws his pass. Jaylen Brown is right there. Jaylen Brown could have made all defensive team. Holiday and Derek White, by the way, did make all defensive team. Okay, Brown could have, and Brown proved it in this game because you look at these turnovers. Jaylen Brown is right in the middle of all of them. Okay, he's right there. His hand is right there. Sacob's hand is like about this much in front of Brown's hand. That ball goes off the field because Brown is right there. Well, he should have caught that. What? What are you looking at? If that was an NFL defensive back, you'd be like, the coverage is right there. It's excellent coverage. But now it's, the Pacers choked. Talk about pushing the narrative. I mean, ESPN really wants this Pacer team in the finals. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And Jason Tatum, who's getting blasted by Kendrick, don't know shit about Shinola Perkins, who still doesn't have a left hand. If he turned left, he'd die. If they cut off his right hand, he'd starve because he couldn't eat with it. He's useless. Kendrick Perkins should be sending a check every month to Kevin Garnett for giving him a career because he wouldn't have had one if it wasn't for Kevin Garnett. He's been out of the league in 5 years. He sucks. He sucked as a player. He sucks as an analyst. He's probably a great guy, actually, because I've heard him. He's not talking basketball. He actually sounds like a good dude. But talk about either he's just purposely being told to be a contrarian or he's that goddamn stupid. But Tatum wasn't the best player on the floor last night for most of the game. You want to talk about what Brown did in the fourth quarter, and yeah, fine. But Tatum had 36, 12, 3 steals. And when he was on the court, Boston was plus 20. When he was off the court, they were minus 7. And he wasn't the best player. I mean, overtime, that was Jason Tatum. Now, this is the thing about having Jaylen Brown. It's like having Kyrie and Luka. Brown got him there. Brown made the defensive play. Brown hit the 3 in the corner. But Brown gets paid $300 million to do that shit. Maybe if Brown had made those 3 free throws he missed, the game would have been tied to begin with. How about that? Because he still can't make a fucking free throw. To his credit, though, he did make 2 down the stretch, big ones that he had to be. He finally did it. He made 2 when he had to. But again, he missed 3 before that. It's free throws. You're a 2 guard. Come on, clean it up. So is this more the Pacers gave it away or the Celtics let them hang around? History says it's more the Celtics because the Celtics have a history of doing this. But now it's the Pacers choked. Come on. Go back and look at those plays. When Pascal Siakam tries to drive the overtime and he spins and Jaylen Brown's right there and just takes the ball. That's because Jaylen Brown's an elite defender. And these people have said that before. He had Pascal Siakam talking to himself. Jaylen Brown was all up in his head. Okay, and then in overtime, when Tatum had a bad fourth quarter, he did what great players do. He rebounded. He responded in the game. He throws an awful turnover. Remember that turnover? He loops over and they foul Halliburton on the 3 when Boston was up 1, and Derek White comes in from the backside. That turnover was all Tatum. It was stupid. One of the worst. This is why I get on him. Dumb turnovers at the wrong time. But what did he do after that? He goes inside, posts up the smaller guy, gets a 3-point play, comes back down, hits a 3, a shot fake, sidestep 3, 6 points in a row to ice the game. Isn't that what great players do? Isn't that what defines greatness? How you handle adversity? And again, it was self-inflicted, as it usually is with the Boston Celtics, okay? But he responded. Why is he not getting praised for this? And then, where is the criticism of Anthony Edwards this morning after what he did last night? He calls out Kyrie Irving, says he's got him, and then Irving proceeds to drop 30 on his head. Where's the criticism today of Anthony Edwards? If it's anything, it's subtle. Why? If that was Jason Tatum, they would be they'd be opening the show with that. They really would. It's utterly ridiculous, the bias. And look, I'm as critical of the Celtics as anybody. But here's what happened the other night. And Tom and I were going back and forth, and at one point I just shut the phone off because I was so mad at them because this is what they do. They're infuriating. What did happen the other night, is I've had some time to digest this and look back and watch the game again. By the way, I've watched the game twice. The Pacers did exactly what I thought they could do given they're healthy. Their offensive firepower, they do this to everybody. I mean, they do. When you look at them, they're the number 1 offense in the NBA. Okay? The Celtics are missing their rim protector. Al Horford is a hell of a player. He's not Kristaps Porzingis. He's not 7'3". He doesn't protect the rim like that. He doesn't make you look over your shoulder. He can block shots. I'm saying he can't, but he's not Kristaps Porzingis in this regard. So, in fact, he's not even a good shooter right now. I mean, he shoots 41%, but his attempts, he's not 20 points a game anymore. He's 10 at best. He's 37. He's a great 6th man. That's what he is. But now you got to monitor his minutes because what's his name is not back yet. But when you look at the Pacers, this offense is so prolific, you've got to stay with them. You've got to run. It's tricky. You've got to run them off the three-point line, but you got to keep them out of the paint. I said to you the other night on the show, the Pacers lead the league in points scored in the paint. That's one reason why their offense is number one. They get into the paint, help comes, they kick out to either open shooters or they get layups and dunks with their big men. So, and everybody, they do this. And so you have to, I'm just looking for a stat here I want to bring up here. You have to understand that the Pacers are so prolific, and because they're like Boston, where they can a multitude of weapons. You can't sleep on any guy in that lineup, and they've got two good guys off the bench, McConnell and the other kid. So they've got seven. They had 7 guys in double figures the other day, and the Celtics still beat them. Okay, and I want to hear about how the Pacers gave the game away when Boston gave it away 3 times. If we're keeping score, it's Boston 3 cough-ups, Pacers 1, because that's really what happened. So you got to be fair here. Okay, and by the way, the Pacers made those mistakes there because Boston pressured them into them. These were not unforced errors. The timeout is the only thing you can hang your hat on. And by the way, Carlisle, to his credit, took blame for that. Should have called timeout. Well, why didn't you call timeout, Rick? It's tough to think about you call a timeout when there's that little thing drooping down the side of your leg. You're going, oh my God. Does anyone have a towel? A napkin? Something? I just wet myself. So even coaches can feel the pressure. Trust me. Look at the overtime when the guy we love to bash, Joe Mazzula, up 6 with 12 seconds to go. Ian Skinner. 12 seconds to go in the game. Joe Mazzula, the Celtics finally have breathed up 6. Let's say this game is over. He's telling the Celtics to foul. And of all the criticism the Boston Celtics have gotten in the past 36 hours, no one, not even Tim Legler, has mentioned this. What universe, what basketball universe is it a good idea up 6 with 12 seconds to go to foul and stop the clock and put your opponent on the line? When you're down 6 with 12 seconds left, you need a lot of help. And one of the best ways to get help, is to be able to score points, with the clock stopped. So Mazzula fouls them and puts them on the line. As opposed to, hey, don't foul, but switch every screen. There's only 12 seconds left. The Pacers are going to try and get a 3. More than they're going to try and get a 2, because they need 2 possessions. The clock, they ain't their friend now. While they're running around, they're going to waste 6 to 8 seconds trying to get that first shot off if you do it right. Then the ball goes in the air. If they make it, so what? There's 3 seconds left. Okay? Catch the ball, get fouled, make 1 free throw, and go home. But you stop the clock with 10.8 or 11, whatever it was, and then they make the first free, miss the second, get the rebound, which is what in fact, or get the foul, what happened. Joe Mazzula made this game unnecessarily tight at the end. Boston gets away with the win, so it gets glossed under the rug, but that was one of the worst timeouts or coaching decisions I've ever seen in the history of sports. Forget basketball. There is no scenario with which fouling with 12 seconds left and up 6 is a good idea. It's the only way to keep the opponent in the game. And that's what Mazzula did. That, and of course, playing Sam Hauser over Brissett, who's a better matchup against this team. There's 2 right there that you want to get on Mazzula about. Go right ahead. And of course, they're all talking about the play at the end of the game where he drew up the stack screens and got open. That was a good play. But I'll tell you what, Holiday throws a perfect chest pass from the other side of the basket on a line, hits Brown on a dime in the corner. And then Sakem wets himself because he's afraid of fouling, puts his hands down, and gives Brown a clean look, who's a capable 3-point shooter. Brown, to his credit, hit it. It wasn't an easy shot. He hit it. It was about probably, between him and the bench in that corner, there's probably about 3 feet of room. So in that closed environment, for Brown to make that shot speaks to the kid's character. The kid, Brown's tough. And Brown, after the game, is the one guy who said, this ain't good enough. We can't play like this. He owned it. He said it. We can't play like this. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep getting leads and blowing. We can't keep, not against a team like this. So he said it, to his credit. But again, Mazzula will never take the blame for anything. We'll just go to his analytics. I want to know what analytic tells you it's a good idea to foul up 6 with 12 seconds to go. I want to see that metric. I really do. Which brings us to Game 2 tonight. Michael Wilbon thinks the series is over. The Pacers can't win it now. The Pacers couldn't win it anyway unless Boston gives it to them. The only way the Pacers can win this series is if Boston gives it to them. And even if the Pacers won the other night, Boston has the second best road record in the NBA. Boston's fully capable of going into Indiana and getting a game. They've won in Indiana before, so it's not like they can't do it. So, and they know they can do it. But you think this team is going to sweat that? They've proven that they don't. That doesn't flip. That's not going to matter to them. They won Game 6 in Milwaukee down 3-2 when they were healthy. Okay, they won Game 6 in Philly when they did last year. They won 3 in a row in Miami last year when they're down. I mean, the Celtics don't have a problem going on the road. That's one thing they're actually good at. They're better on the road than they are at home in the playoffs, which is utterly ridiculous, but it's true. Okay, because now's the one time they don't have to be. They have home court for the whole playoffs. They don't have to win a road game at all if they just hold serve at home. If this were the 87 Celtics or the 87, this is a lock. It's over because I would know Larry Bird would never drop a home playoff game if they're healthy. And if they're healthy, the Celtics I don't think did. So that's not true. 84 Lakers, they dropped Game 1. But they came back and won an LA game. They won that series. But the thing is, it was Magic and Kareem. I don't see no Magic and Kareem in any of these lineups that are left. There's no Magic and Kareem. You can talk about Luka and Kyrie, and you can talk about Ant and Towns, and there's no Magic and Kareem. They're 2 of the top 6 players in the history of this game. None of these guys are in that. No. Tatum and Brown, no, not even close. That's an insult to Magic and Kareem. That's the team that went in there and did that to the Celtics. No other team did that. So, Boston coming into tonight. Now, look, after the game, it was brought up by the Boston media, of course, and it should have been. Well, yeah, you've dropped Game 2 in the last 2 series. Why would we have any confidence in you? Okay, why should we? Why should I as a fan? What did happen the other night gives me hope because I needed to see them take a punch. The Pacers hit back. They hit back. They're a good team. And they're healthy. The first healthy team the Celtics have faced in the playoffs. They have their top gun, their second gun. The Pacers have everybody. So Boston hadn't seen a team like that yet. Okay, they took one, they got knocked down, they got back up. Because honestly, for the Pacers, and Lego did say this, for the Pacers to give it away, the other team has to be able to have the capacity to take advantage of it. And the Celtics do, even without Porzingis, who is their third leading scorer. Okay, and their rim protector. And rebounding. He averages 7 rebounds. He's second leading rebounder on the team behind Tatum. So they didn't just lose 20 points a game. They lost 2 blocks. They lost 8 rebounds. That's a big loss. And they're still here. And they're winning. So they took one in the mouth. They responded. It wasn't a conventional response, but nonetheless, it was a response. Jrue Holiday, 28, 8, and 7. No one's talking about that today. He outplayed Halliburton. Okay, Brown outplayed whoever the other guy was, and Tatum was the best player on the floor. I don't care what Kendrick Perkins has proven. No one should take his opinion with anything other than not a grain of salt, more like a handful of salt, because it's Kendrick Perkins, and he's that dude. I mean, so I have hope that because Game 1 was such a struggle, because the other 2 were laughers, that the Celtics come out tonight and they really go, okay, we're 7 wins away from this thing. Are we serious about this or not? Because this team is not going to quit. We have to go get them. I'm hopeful that tonight they will come out like they did the other night, but they won't take their foot off the gas. They're going to stay on them until they quit. And the Pacers haven't quit yet, to their credit. Make them quit. Make them quit. Keep going to the basket. And again, 30 free throw attempts. Now here's the last. I want to end with this because this to me is really, I love this shit. I love stupid fans. Stupid fans are sometimes the reason I get up in the morning. I'll be honest with you. But if you've been on the chat boards and basketball, and it's actually they're pushing the narrative. Well, it was 30 free throws to 10. Looks like home court really was cooking for them Celtics there. Once again, devoid of facts and research, which is what most idiot fans do. That's why they're idiots. Which is why most athletes don't pay attention, because most of them are dumbasses. They don't bother to do any research. Here's a little fun. This will sum the whole thing up. In the regular season, the Indiana Pacers, who statistically were one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and when I say statistically, here's a stat for you, okay? They were number 1 in the NBA, and of all the stats you don't want to be number 1, and this might be the biggest one. They were number 1 in the NBA at putting opponents on the free throw line per game. They were number 1 at it. They were the best at it. Okay? So for you slow people, let me explain this. They led the league in free throw attempts against them, for the other team. Okay? That means that people got into the paint at will and all they could do was foul. To the point where they were the worst in the league at it. They gave up the most free throw attempts, and that's an 82 game sample size. So was this really the refs when this is what they've done all fucking season long? Because if you look at that stat, you kind of have to rethink that one. The Celtics, by comparison, who were top 5 in defense, in fact, they were the only team in the league, top 3 offense and defensive efficiency. They were the best in the league, meaning the fewest. They gave the fewest free throw attempts. So it's the two extremes, and what happened in game 1? 30-10. Because that's what happened all season long. That has nothing to do with the damn refs. That's to do with one team plays defense and the other doesn't. Or can't, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? The Pacers did not. They would either take pull-up jump shots or they'd shoot threes. They didn't go to the basketball. Now, were a couple calls missed? Yeah, there was one of Peyton Pritchard. I remember we got the guy. But the two refs were out on the wings. They couldn't see it. The camera under the basket sees it, but there was no official under the basket, I guess, that saw it. So they got away with. There's one I can think of. Definitely, that was clear. But, the Celtics could have gone the free throw line 50 times the other night if they wanted to. The Pacers couldn't have done a damn thing about it. They really couldn't have. And I don't care how good this fast break offense is on a made basket. If you keep having to take the ball out of the basket because they keep dunking on you and getting layups and three-point plays, at some point, the dam breaks. Versus, you get up 12 or 13 and you take 3 consecutive threes. And maybe you hit one, but most likely at least the other you missed 3 or 4 in a row, and they cut 8 points off the lead. Then you make a basket, now it goes from 4 to 6, but now you're back in the game again. This is the ebbs and flows of the game. And everybody talks about the Pacers saying the Pacers, they're just going to keep coming. Okay, fine. Keep coming. Tatum and Brown, keep going to the rim. Keep getting layups, dunks, keep getting fouled. Go ahead. They're not going to beat you. There's no way the Pacers are going to beat the Celtics playing that game if the Celtics just go to the basket. There's no way. If they'll give up 40 free throws tonight if Boston does that. At least 40 free throw attempts. Because there's nothing they can do about it but foul. They fouled out Naismith the other night, and they would have fouled him out by halftime if Tatum and Brown kept going to the basket. He was switching off. Same thing with what's his name there, Obi Toppin, who the ex-Knick, who can't guard either one of them either. So, this is the thing, and this is where Mazzula has to get smart and go, do I need more threes or do I need dribble penetration? Because here's the thing about the other night. This is the thing about the Celtics the other night. When you look at the box score of this and Hauser's minutes and what he did, because again, the Celtics, they took, they took 45 threes in the game. Okay. Come on. Make it so. I hate when computers are slow, don't you? Do it. Thank you. Box score. Should have had it queued up, but I was looking at something else. You look at the other night. So, Hauser plays 9 minutes. He's 0 for 2 from the 3. He was a -8. He had 1 rebound. He was totally, utterly, literally useless. 9 minutes, 2 bricks, and got scored on like he was -8 in 9 minutes. That's kind of hard to do. Brissett, who's a small forward who plays defense, because the -8 is because he got scored on. In the 9 minutes, Hauser was a turnstile. You can't guard these guys. Brissett's quicker, more athletic. He goes to the basket. Against this matchup, he would make more sense. So if Hauser wasn't there, instead of you taking 45 threes, you take 43. Come on, Mazzula. You're an analytical guy. What do those analytics tell you? Come on. Oh, what if he made those 2? Well, he didn't. And on most nights, he doesn't. Okay? And defensively, he's never really good. So he's average at best, and that depends on the league. This is the number 1 offense in the league. He's not going to stop these guys. You're not going to hide Hauser against this offense. You're not. So to me, where you're going to shoot 40-plus threes without him anyway, okay, might as well get a better defender out there who, by the way, can go to the rim and finish because the Pacers can't stop that. That's common sense right there, one-on-one. You've got the guy in the lineup, do it. If Horford's getting toasted, you have a 6'7" Tillman who can rebound and play the 5 and go out on these guys, and he's quicker with his feet. Use him. There's 2 guys that could have played the other night. Mazzula didn't play either one of them. And against this team, against this matchup, this is what coaching is all about. And this is why Mazzula is the worst coach in the playoffs. And this is the biggest red flag against the Celtics. And this will be the reason they don't win. It'll be him. Okay? I don't care about the one great play he drew up at the end of a game. That was a game because of his stupid coaching moves and his stupid philosophy and his stupid analytics. Analytics don't win championships. They never have. They never will. Okay? The playoffs, the possessions mean more. The coaching, the scouting is better. The teams are locked in on defense. This isn't about, well, if I get up more threes, I'm going to be. No, it ain't going to work here. It hasn't worked yet. It won't work this year. Okay? Tatum and Brown didn't win that game on the three-point line. They won it going to the basket. You're just playing a team that is more than happy to be dumb enough to exchange them with you, because that's what the Pacers do. You think this? If you get by the Pacers, you think that Dallas or Minnesota is going to play your game? And they play defense well enough to not play your game. So, to me, if this guy is the coach that that everybody claims he's making the right substitute, he didn't make them the other night. Al Horford was not, and he was getting dusted on a lot. He made some defensive plays, but he also got smoked on some defensive plays. Put Tillman in there. Cornette, I'm not saying don't start Horford because of his offense, but when you need to go bring Tillman in there. He'll do this. Okay? Cornette has a hard time. He's 7'1", he's taller, but you've got Tillman too. Use him, even for 10 minutes. You've got Brissett. Use him, even for 10 minutes. He'll help you on defense. He'll go to the basket, which the Pacers can't stop. And maybe he gets you some baskets and some fouls. The thing about the Pacers is if their guys are in foul trouble, they're going to have to sit on the bench. Best way to stop an offense is to put some of it on the bench with foul trouble. Celtics can do that, and they did do it. They did do more of it. So we'll see what happens tonight. I'm cautiously optimistic that given how difficult Game 1 was, and again, it was more self-inflicted if we're being honest, I'm more optimistic the Celtics will actually respond tonight. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's going to do it for segment 1. I'll be back segment 2 real quick. Hey, not for nothing, the Boston Red Sox did something they haven't done in 5 years. We'll talk about that in segment 2, coming right up.